Good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome to today's webinar. We are delighted to have such a diverse group of participants joining us for a discussion on a topic that is increasingly shaping our careers and our future growth. We are going to explore how strategic leadership communication elevates your career growth and how you can transform from functional experts to strategic leaders. This webinar is brought to you by I Am Calcutta in association with VCNow. Many professionals spend years becoming exceptional at what they do, whether in marketing, finance, technology, operations, or any other specialized domain. But the moment they step into leadership roles, success depends not just on expertise, but on how effectively they communicate ideas, influence decisions, and align people around a vision in ways that drive strategic impact. This is where strategic leadership communication becomes extremely crucial. It is a skill that helps professionals move from being subject matter experts to becoming leaders who can guide decisions, inspire teams, and shape organizational direction. Today's webinar aims to explore exactly this transition, how professionals can develop the communication mindset and capabilities that enable them to step into broader leadership roles. I would now invite Mr. Darius Mehta, co-founder of VCNow and also an alumni of I Am Calcutta himself, to share a few words. Over to Mr. Mehta.
Thank you, Shreyasri. Good evening and a warm welcome to everyone on this webinar on the Advanced Program in Strategic Leadership Communication. As the name suggests, there are three keywords: strategic, leadership, and communication. So communication is a life skill. I think, it is used across all walks of life. You require it from a business perspective, you require it from a social perspective, you require it from a personal perspective, interpersonal perspective within your family, etc. also. You need it from a digital communication perspective. And today, I think most of all, people have started communicating to AI also. So how do you communicate with AI? So these are the kind of, new ways and skill sets that we need to learn of communication. So if you look at it and step back, it's something that straddles not only in your corporate, professional, business communication, but across all walks of life. Now, generically, we all feel that we are good communicators, our ability to speak English, etc., how we speak. We all feel that we communicate well. However, if you kind of, sit back and reflect, you will notice that we communicate very instinctively. Very few people whom we call as great communicators, you will find that they communicate very differently. Now, what is the definition of communication? The classical definition of communication is eliciting a response from the other party. Well, this program takes it to the next level. It redefines that in saying that it helps you elicit a response from the other party, the response that you want from the other party. How do you elicit a response that you want from the other party? That is what strategic and leadership communication is all about. Now, how do you do that? That you need to do the program to know how do you do that. But then, we have these fantastic faculties who have actually done research across various sciences, including anthropology to, legal sciences to behavioral sciences. And what they have done is they have kind of, curated toolkits, curated frameworks that, you could easily apply, you can easily relate to and easily apply in all situations, whether it's corporate, business, social, digital, personal, and how do you kind of, do that? So this program actually will help you overcome, your limitations in terms of communication, in terms of convincing somebody, in terms of negotiation, in terms of conflict management, in terms of inspiring people, in terms of, creating a culture, making sure that your objective, goal, mission, operationalizing it, nudging people to take decisions, making a sales pitch, and so on and so forth, And these frameworks you can actually, like I said, use across all walks of life, including things like using data, narrative, storytelling, and even gamification from communication perspective. So I think don't want to spill the beans. I mean, I have shared enough for you to kind of get interested in seeing and knowing that, how do you acquire skill sets that go beyond your functional expertise and that are required to get you to a level of a senior leadership position where you, I mean, it's not only about your expertise, but about your executive presence, about your ability to mobilize, operationalize your goals, objective vision goals. So without much ado, I hand it over to our esteemed professors. Over to you. Thank you. Yes, yes, you can introduce the professor.
Yes, thank you so much. To help us unpack this very important theme, we are extremely privileged to have with us two distinguished faculty members from the Indian Institute of Management, Calcutta, one of India's premier management institutions. It is my pleasure to introduce Professor Pragyan Rath. Professor Pragyan Rath teaches problem-solving techniques and advanced analytical skills in corporate communications across all programs at the I Am Calcutta. She holds a PhD from the Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay. She has been researching in visual verbal representations in a literary genre called ekphrasis. Her research publications in national and international journals focus on visual cultures, communication analytics, and language games. We are also equally honored to be joined today by Professor Nandita Roy. Professor Nandita Roy teaches communication at the Indian Institute of Management, Calcutta. She holds a PhD from Jadavpur University. Her research is, again, multidisciplinary at the intersection of philosophy, technology, gender studies, storytelling, and new media, with a very special emphasis on video games. Her academic training in qualitative research methods in humanities and new media, coupled with her experience in the media and communications industry, informs her understanding of philosophy, ethics, gender, and media. Together, Professors Rath and Roy bring a rich combination of academic insight and practical perspective on how communication can shape leadership journeys and accelerate career growth. We are truly looking forward to hearing their thoughts and learning from their experiences today. Without further delay, I would now like to invite Professors Pragyan Rath and Professor Nandita Roy to lead us into today's discussion. As the session progresses, we encourage participants to share their questions on the chat box. We will try to take up as many of them as possible during the Q&A segment towards the end. We will also be allowing some of you to unmute yourself during the Q&A session so that you may interact personally as well with your questions. Professor Rath and Professor Roy, the virtual floor is all yours. Over to you.
You are on mute, Professor.
Yeah. Thank you, Shayashi, and also Darius and everyone. Just 1 second. Sorry. And thank you, Dr. Roy, for joining as well. And welcome to all our esteemed guests who are here today to understand a little more about this particular program. Just to start with, and I will just reiterate what Mr. Darius said. When you're thinking of communication, and there's a difference between the functional use and the strategic use, right? And the functional use would be good language skills, right? And essentially, at a mid-management level, the kind of communication that you can do. Whereas a strategic edge is communication at essentially any level, at any kind of condition and position that you do, but with planning and with research. That is essentially the big difference. And planning and research is required when the context is very complex. You have to understand several variables. You'll have to figure out what is the competitive edge. You have to plan and develop and create the content because you want a certain kind of output. And in order to get a certain kind of output, you will need to study the context well, study your competition well, and thereby design your communication. And the word here is, of course, design. So just like you take big decisions, and when you take big decisions for your firms in certain industries in a given market, what do? You calculate the pros and cons, right? You look at what your competitors do. You do a competitor analysis. You look at the non-market. Currently, the non-market is huge, and the market conditions, and then you decide what's the right thing to do. And the right thing here means economics, culture, ethics, psychology, organizational. There are so many variables to what is right for a firm. And keeping all of that in mind, you're going to design your decision. Here, it is designing the articulation of your decision to the various stakeholders, and hence we call it the strategic edge. Overall, that is essentially the essence of this particular program, also given with technology, with artificial intelligence, also with the policy decisions changing, also the complexity of the current geopolitical ecosystems, also with the onslaught of entrepreneurship, um, also with these consistent discussions on vertical and horizontal integrations of artificial intelligence, also with the onslaught of what is called domain expertise and tech expertise, and of course the larger thing about, when the AI can do it, what else can I do? Given all of this, what's happening to communication and communication strategies today in this contemporary world where things are changing really fast, and futuristically in the next 4 or 5 years, what could or may not happen? Keeping all of that in mind, we are positioning this particular course as very multidimensional, multi-purpose, if I may say. However, keeping the base of strategy intact, which is essentially you must be really good with market research, and thereby you understand your stakeholders, also understand the calculations of what decisions you are taking, and thereby designing your articulation. That is, in essence, what we are trying to do in this particular program. And for more details, over to Nandita ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Sreyashi, for the kind introduction. Thank you, Dres. I think Dres at the beginning perfectly summarized the program. And all of you who are listening in, I hope you were carefully listening to Professor Rath. One thing that she said, I think, is the most important thing. She said, you have to study. So the point here is that there is studying
Yeah.
involved, uh, whatever it is, whether you are doing this strategic communication or any kind of communication. There, I said that communication is important today, now more than ever. Uh, some cultural anthropologists will say that communication was an evolutionary necessity and nothing else. Um, what we try to do with this program, and I will just reiterate with some of the things that have been already said, because again, I think reiteration is important. Um, in terms of just learning how to speak, because if you look at the webinar topic today, I was just looking at it. So there are many abstract nouns in that, the strategic, the leadership, communication, this, that, so many things. Um, Words kind of construct the reality that we live in, right? So communication is not just about saying some things, but it is also about making a certain kind of meaning. In terms of meaning making in organizations, it's very important. What can be called attrition can also be called downsizing, can also be called mean management and things like that. So, what narrative are you choosing? How are you deciding to talk about something? Someone saying turnover. Uh, Takes me back to perhaps a very relevant story about one of my professors whose toddler son was once badgering him and saying, "Please, Dad, draw a picture of a tiger for me." He was busy and he couldn't. But the child, children are quite annoying at times. So the child kept saying, "Please draw a tiger." So and he couldn't draw. So finally, what he did was he put a dot on a piece of paper and he told the kid that, "Here, this is a tiger." And the son was really angry. He said, "This can't be a tiger. I know what a tiger is. For a 3-year-old, also, there is some notion of reality." But then my professor said that the tiger is very, very far away. So that kind of convinced this little child that yes, um, of course, the tiger is very far away, which is why it's a dot. So a lot of communication, especially strategic communication, organizational communication, is very manipulative discipline. That's why the ethics of it is important. That's why understanding the design of it is important. Um, I think apart from leveling up and helping you perhaps understand some of these ideas and how you become better at articulating ideas and articulating meaning rather than just words, um, while that is a major aspect of this program, another equally important aspect is perhaps uh, helping you understand uh, the different types of narratives and meanings that you are being constantly bombarded with, given the lives that we live in a completely technologically mediated society. So, yeah, those are primarily the things that this program will take you through and help you to discern from that which is just functional to that which is perhaps more meaningful. So that's, I think, Professor Rath can perhaps add on to some of these things. You're on mute.
Yeah,
Yeah, now
this
we can hear
was,
you.
thank you so much. Yeah. So, given that all of it is what we are saying in terms of the emphasis on trying to understand the ecosystem more. So, as you would have gone through the brochures, if you have, or you look at the subtle points about, on the basis of which this program has come together, one of the things Mr. Dara said is there's a lot of research being done. So it's not like we're just coming in and we are talking. So there's been hard work, and what we mean by hard work is we studied. So there's been a certain sense of studying. And then when you do join the programs, and all the participants who've done similar kinds of programs before, this being the seventh batch, I'm assuming, yes. So the six batches before, you also bring in something with you, which is what, again, a certain kind of narrative says is domain expertise. The other kind of narrative will say your experiences. But essentially, what we look at it as, it's a very studied experience that you bring in, because it brings in a certain kind of understanding of the space from which you come. And that space means it's an economic space, there's a market to it, there's an ecosystem there, there are verticals there, there is a certain kind of culture prevalent there, there's a certain kind of diversity amongst the cultures and verticals within which you operate. And hence, what we intend to do in these programs is, program is look at these various touch points, right? So one is, of course, market. So what I mean by market is the larger economic space, which means you need to understand the market players well. And once you understand the market players well, um, what it does is it's more convenient, or probably more prudent in terms of how you want to design your communication and for what purpose. So one is, of course, the market and economics. The other very, very important part is, of course, the culture. This is where the program starts having an edge, because when we say communication and we use words like narratives and discourse, so every story that is produced or created or you respond to comes from a certain cultural perspective, from a certain ecosystem which is immersed in that particular culture. Hence, the cultural edge is as important as the market edge, or what you more predominantly are more familiar with, which is called the competitive advantage. Here, I will call it the cultural advantage. So, you must have the cultural advantage when you are designing a narrative or a story. for a certain kind of an output. So we have the market, we have the culture, and of course the larger non-market. Non-market is given what's happening now. There's a war happening somewhere, so the entire dimension of decisions are going to be rewired in several ways. And when that happens, how do we articulate, how do we not articulate, do we have to change, like what Professor Roy said, do we use more abstract nouns, or we make it more what should I say, more functional and tangible? That too is a response to certain kind of larger geopolitics that happens, and that is perhaps more the reason of impact of the non-market, right? Which is essentially your political and policy spaces. And then, of course, the ethical side, that is, are you doing things right? Of course, in a post-truth world, what is right, what is wrong, what is true, what is fake, what is real and tangible, and what isn't, or is everything a narrative, or there are just different kinds of narratives which make pre-existing things tangible? These are certain things we need to rethink. So this program also allows you to rethink a lot of things that you're doing, so that when you go back to it, you will perhaps give it a more sharper positioning, to enunciate your acquired knowledge, which probably this program would enable you to have. I think I've been going round and round a lot. To make it more tangible, I'll hand it over to Professor Roy in terms of what are these subparts that we are probably going to touch upon, which probably will give a more 360 degrees way of looking at culture, markets, and of course, the non markets. Over to you, Dr. Roy.
Yeah,
If I made any
thanks.
sense. Yeah.
Yes, yes, of course. So yeah, I think I will now take the those who have joined in, take them through the different modules that this program is divided in. That will give you perhaps from the abstract to the tangible. Um, so we start with modules on communication strategy, which Professor Rath teaches, and from there we move on to ideas of public speaking. That's a very important component of the program, because a lot of communication in organizations that you do, often you need to, and public speaking here doesn't necessarily mean standing at the pulpit, those images, AI generated images that you see with someone in a suit. Public speaking also happens in local tea shops and some neighborhood bus stops, and also at the water cooler in your office. So a lot of it is about that. So the first two modules primarily will concentrate on communication strategies. Persuasion strategies will form an important aspect of these modules. We will also go through ideas about storytelling in these modules, because increasingly storytelling, not increasingly, I think for the last 15 years or so, uh, has become an important way of communicating, a more persuasive way of communicating, given that we live in the age of verifiability, which means that, whenever you go to a doctor, 20 years ago, perhaps you would just buy the prescriptions drugs from the pharmacy. But now you Google, and some smarter ones also upload the prescription to ChatGPT to try and understand what is happening. Um, what this means basically is that we have the option of accessing so much information that we constantly want to verify things. Um, Now think then it becomes difficult for the market to sell things in such a condition, right? If everything is verified, what do I say? I'm constantly being questioned and fact checked. So what do we do? You will see this if you are kind of slightly into reading uh, about politics, etc. You'll see that is why there has been a shift from using data points to a more persuasive form using more storytelling. It is increased. So we'll try to understand these things and then give you certain frameworks as well, which you can then perhaps apply in your own communication. We'll also do something called data storytelling, because once again, numbers are yet another language with which we speak. So how we persuade through data, what we tell and what we show, all of these things we'll talk about. Followed by, there is one module on intercultural communication, which, as one can see, uh, is becoming has always been relevant. I hear, very management terms like VUCA, etc. I think it has always been a VUCA world. Even in the 16th century, post the there were similar anxieties. Nothing new on that front, but it needs to be understood. So intercultural communication, data storytelling, communicating across different mediums, social media. So how you are expected to communicate on LinkedIn, where versus if you are an entrepreneur and you want to push your product and talk about it on Reddit, it will be two completely different paradigms, right? So we try to include that as well in our course. We have modules on conflict and negotiation. And of course, these days, um, the without the suffix of AI, most things are just to make it it's relevant. So you will. Someone had already asked in these chats that, is there any aspect of AI? Um, yes, there is, because it is an important thing that is happening now. Do we understand it fully? We try to, perhaps, but there are certain sessions on communication and AI, or much rather, the focus is on how you can use AI perhaps better in order to level up how you communicate. We also, because as I think Professor Rath indicated in the beginning, communication is not just it's at the center of this tapestry where a lot of threads are coming in together. And one of those threads that she had mentioned was economics. A lot of persuasive strategy, a lot of communication strategy that uh, will be taught in the course will uh, talk back to narrative economics and other aspects of that field as well. But we do usually, in the campus visits, also have a couple of sessions on narrative economics to understand how narratives have tangible impact. Narratives are real, even if all other things aren't. So that's perhaps that's why we have kept it as a part of the course. So these are broadly the modules, Professor Rath. If I have missed any module, or if you would add to. Um,
Shreyasi will be sharing structured modules also, just so that everybody is on the same page. And with
right,
the program details, so that people don't keep on asking the same questions.
right,
Maybe
right.
Shreyasi, you could quickly kind of share the
Yes. Let me share my
details.
screen.
Yeah,
I'll just take them through
yeah,
the
yeah.
details of the program.
Program
Just,
details.
yeah. I hope my screen is visible to everyone. Yes. So the name of the program that we're talking about, I believe some of you have also asked about the program name in the chat box. So the program is called Advanced Program in Strategic Leadership Communication, APSLC for short. This is the 7th cohort for which we are open for registrations. The program is of 6 months, and to be eligible to join the program, you have to be a graduate or a postgraduate with a minimum 50% aggregate marks, along with 5 years of work experience. That makes you eligible to apply for this. The mode of delivery will be live online classes. And not only that, the classes are held on weekends, on Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., making it convenient for working professionals to upskill themselves very easily. In addition to the live classes on weekends, you will also be having 2 campus sessions, in 2 parts, I would say. There is 2 parts of the campus session, one towards the beginning or just when you have started off with your program. And the second one would be towards the end of the program, wherein your classes would be getting over, there would be also probably a certification ceremony of some sort at the institute premises. Upon completion of the certificate, you will be awarded with a certificate of completion of the program. Sorry about that. You will be awarded with a certificate of completion. We have a sample of that, which we would also be showing you in the following slide. You would also be awarded with an executive education alumni status from I Am Calcutta. The program fee for this APSLC program is 2,80,000 plus GST, which is payable in 3 installments. If anyone is looking for any financial assistance, we do have some arrangements for that too. Going forward, like Professors Rath and Roy have already mentioned about the program modules that you would be taken through during the course of the program, I would be just taking up the basic names of these modules. And I would request the professors to pitch in if required, because they have already shared in details about these modules one after the other. I would just name them. If they want to pitch in, I would invite them to pitch in as well with any further details that may be needed. The first module would be leading with communication strategy. The second one would be sales pitch through impactful argumentation. Then we will move on to public speaking, crafting a contemporary public narrative. The next module would be leveraging digital communication for leaders. Then we have intercultural business communication. We have data presentations. We have leaders as conflict processors, conflict resolution and negotiation. We have storytelling in the digital era. Then we have communication analytics, visual communication trends. Then, of course, we move on to a very important topic, as many of you have already asked questions about AI being a part of the curriculum or not. We have communicating with and without AI. Last but not the least, we have a module on gamification as well. I move on to show you the certificate of completion. This is a sample certificate of completion. This is what you would be awarded with once you complete the program. We are accepting registrations for the upcoming cohort. The classes are commencing very soon. As you can see on screen, the last date to apply for the upcoming cohort is 20th of March, just a couple of days away. We are available for any discussion that you might want to have on the program or for the details about how it might enrich your career journey. You can reach out to us. You can reach out to Shivani Sharma on these numbers. She is here with us in today's webinar. She would also be saying a quick hi towards the end. Many of you might be knowing her as well. I stop the screen share at this point. We will be sharing the contact details in the chat box as well, so that you can reach out to us very easily. Yes.
I think we can start with the question.
Yes. I will just check. We have some questions in the chat box as well. I am assuming
we can even ask people to, raise their hand, unmute and ask questions here.
Yes, indeed. So let me ask all the participants here. I'm sure you are very much impressed with all the details of the program that we have shared with you. Professors Rath and Roy have given you a lot of insights and perspectives on communication per se. If you have any questions which you would like to ask them personally, you can please raise your hand. Then you can unmute yourself and you can ask the question that you might. Dr. P. Chandrasekhar, I think you unmuted yourself for a second there. Do you have a question?
Hello, good evening. There were some questions in the chat. We could start with that.
I will pick up the chat questions for now. Yeah. Yes.
Hello, ma'am. Hello. Am I audible, ma'am?
Go ahead.
Please go ahead with your query.
Good evening, all of you. Ma'am, actually, currently I've been working in Central GST as a lower divisional clerk, but my work experience is mere 1 year only because I joined last year. So apart from this finance, can you please do something in this work experience criteria for this 5 years that you have talked about?
So I'm sorry, actually the program, I Am Calcutta has a certain, eligibility criteria for the program. So this program requires a minimum of 5 years. I'm sorry, but, we will require people with minimum 5 years of work experience. to be able to join this program.
Okay, there are senior citizen like me, with me 50 years of my industrial experience. Also, can I join?
Yes. So upper limit doesn't apply.
Okay.
There is an eligibility, so there is no limit for. There is today the concept of lifelong learning is true, right? And we would be very happy to have somebody senior enough to share their experiences and learn from the program.
Only my problem is all my certificates are there in Singapore. So if you ask me to put my certificates, I don't have right with me. So how do I do it?
We will come to you on that. Our academic team will connect with you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Audible, sir.
Go ahead.
Yes,
Go ahead.
go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yeah.
Hello,
I
sir.
just wanted to know whether we will be offered any certificate for this webinar.
No. This is a information webinar for the program. It was very clearly stated. So no certificate for this program.
Okay, that's all.
Hello. Hello, sir. Good evening, sir.
Go ahead.
Good evening.
Sir, this is Shah Khalis from Srinagar, sir. I am working as an engineer with Indus Towers, sir. Sir, as recently the University Grants Commission has started various master's program, undergraduate programs for the working professionals. Is there any criteria for is doing the PG course regarding the working professionals in IIM?
So this is a postgraduate certificate program, and for this program, you need to have 5 years of experience.
Sir, for freshers, any program regarding that, sir?
No, for that you'll have to go onto the website and check it.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
I will just take up a few of the questions which have come in the chat box.
Yeah.
So the first question that I would take up is, it mentions, considering the hybrid mode of workplace, verbal communication has turned to more of written. How is the impact being taken care of with the program? And is there any use cases of AI in the communication program? Professors, this was the question in the chat box.
Yeah, Shreyashi, thank you. I've answered the question. There is a subset called communicating with and without AI. Am I there? Sorry, hi. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, I said that I'd answered that question in the chat.
All right. Thank you, Professor. So I'll move on.
So there's, yeah.
Yes, thank you. I believe you have also answered Dharmesh's question on trust building. So I am skipping that. Thank you so much, Professor. Moving on to the other questions that we have. Puneet, you have asked for the details of the course. So we are going to reach out to you. We will share the details with you shortly. You will be receiving the same. Upendra, okay. All right. Rahul mentions, I believe this is sector agnostic. Would you like to take it up in any way, Professor?
It is. Shreyashi, it is. I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
Yes. So, absolutely. I think we clarified in the beginning also that this is a program which cuts across people from all walks of life. And like we said, communication is not only, formal corporate business communication. It kind of straddles life per se. So it's open for people from all walks of life, entrepreneurs included.
Yes, I would now request some of the participants to raise their hand and ask questions personally. I think that would be better because it would be more interactive. We have answered most of the questions that were there in the chat box. Professor Pragyan has herself answered a couple of them in the chat box itself.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, Miss Sumita, please go ahead. We can hear you.
Yeah, I'm from art subject. So I want to ask that how leadership can be built in this subject, because I'm not a science student, but skill and communication you were talking about. So I want to know that my subject is political science. Then how can I build a skill through this leadership? I just want to know that.
Sumita, do you have the 5 years of work experience?
Yeah, I have 17 years. I'm working.
So currently, what do you do?
I am assistant professor.
Professor. Okay. So then I would like the professor to answer to Professor.
Professor Roy, you would want to go ahead with this?
What do I say? Yes, of course. I mean, it's interesting that this question occurs to you. Um, I think it should have also occurred to me many years ago. But what you have studied, the discipline is not a prerequisite for this course. It's not just for engineers or not just for scientists. And I think already the world has moved far away from the assumption that only those in STEM can be leaders. So it is completely not related. Of course, if you can be a part of this course, and leadership is for there are many types of leadership, many kinds of leaders, and it's not limited to a certain disciplinary boundaries. That's all.
We used to teach public administration, which we used to say that some leaders are born and some leaders we used to make. So I can relate myself that I can become leader after having this course or not. Well, leader is not, I want to become a political leader, but skill and communication. I know this is the era of NAP, and NAP interdisciplinary subject is related to any of the subject. I can study science, commerce, anything. My students are also doing MDC, in which they are taking the political science subject when they are their honors is commerce or science. So how can I tell them to get skill in this courses?
Um, to just before I think I'll ask Professor Rath to answer this, but I'll just add one tiny thing. No, it's not. I do not want to sort of project this course as a as one of those gym advertisements where there is a before and an after. Before you did this course, you were not a leader, and after you have done this course, you're suddenly transformed into a leader. It is not that kind of a pill you take and some magic happens, but what it will perhaps teach you if you study, as Professor Rath had pointed out earlier, is it will give you certain toolkits. It will help you understand, perhaps it will help you understand NEP better. Perhaps it will help you understand your classroom a little better. And you can use certain toolkits, certain ideas, analytics, how AI is used in communication, all of these things. Gamification, by the way, is something that has had immense impact in education. So if you are in the education sector, someone asks, like, is this sector agnostic? Yes, it is, very much so. If you are in the education sector, there are things that you will be able to glean from the course, which will be useful, but not that kind of a before after. Like, no hair, suddenly you put a magic oil, there is a lot of hair. That doesn't happen. Professor,
I think, yeah. Dharmesh, you can go ahead. Please unmute and ask.
I just wanted to add one thing before Dharmesh asks, if I may, Daras, to the earlier question. You can also read between the lines of NEP. That also might help in case. Over to you, Daras.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Dharmesh. So read between the lines is part of a communication analytics, which is taught by Professor Pagian. How do you analyze written communication, verbal communication, visual communication? Wonderful sessions. Yeah. Yeah, Dharmesh, please go ahead.
Ramesh, you can please ask your question and unmute yourself. Before you do that, please.
Ramesh, I think we're not able to hear you. Maybe if you could log in again, or
I am
audible.
audible.
Now it's fine.
Yes.
Now it's fine. Please go ahead.
Okay. Thanks a lot for answering my first question in the chat box. But this is again second question. This is related to vision and influence, basically. So how can, in what ways, basically, the strategic communication here explained is enable leaders to translate organizational vision into measurable influence, and across the diverse stakeholders or groups.
Right. Mr. Mehta, for that you'll have to do the whole course, which I hope will let you do what you're asking.
Okay, thank you.
All of them.
I will connect with you separately. Since I've done the program, I think we can have a long conversation on how the program has helped me do that within the organization.
Okay, thank you.
And I think answer in a very crisp manner. I think once you do this program, you relate to a lot of these toolkit and frameworks, which you kind of go back and saying that in that situation I should have done this, and this is how I should have communicated. And then if you really kind of do it with the right intent, put in the right amount of effort, you will find the transformation that will lead you to drive your teams, inspire them, nudge them, manage conflicts, manage arguments, and drive people to what you want them to achieve. So that will be a longer conversation which we will have separately. Yeah. Next question, please.
Anybody else who would like to ask a question?
I think Shailesh Mehta, lots of Mehtas are interested in communication. Shailesh, yeah.
The faculty.
Hello. I just want to ask, means how many sessions will be there particularly for public speaking or this?
Someone needs to be muted. How many sessions for public speaking?
Yeah.
We have to look at the PDS. I think Shivani and Sriyashi can let you know exactly how many sessions. If I remember correctly, I think 4, and it is followed by a verbal exam also. It's like a viva voce. As far as, sorry, your other question, like the faculty involved, it will be primarily faculty from IIM Calcutta. And however, we also have in the previous iterations of this course, we have had visiting faculty, including international visiting faculty. So that is also a possibility, but that will be primarily the bulk of the course is taught by IIM Calcutta faculty.
Also, I think public speaking is also going to be an outcome of the overall course. So while you have sessions on public speaking, but
yeah,
I mean, it's like at the end of it, it's the outcome of what you learn and how you apply back in the program. So that's the and I think one of the greatest communicators today in India who's keeps visiting I Am Calcutta, Dr. Jaishankar, our Honorable External Affairs Minister. He frequently comes to I Am Calcutta, I think. Obviously not for taking classes, but I mean, he's been there twice, I guess, in some functions. I think there's so much to learn from him. I think just by observing him and reading on, how he is kind of managing communication in these times. And one of the things in the program is that you are also made to watch movies, analyze them. You're made to look at videos, analyze them. So it's also fun,
Yes, Mr. Rajinder Pal Singh, you can unmute yourself and please ask your question. Please go ahead.
Much. So I'm currently working as like a director IT, and I'm also certified as an independent director. So I just want to understand like how this course can help me in like meeting my future aspirations, like working with the different corporates as independent director.
Yeah, this is Mr. Rajinder, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yes. Since it's a communication course, essentially it's about articulating your decisions that you take, and also strategizing how do you best position yourself. So when you're going to, communicate with different stakeholders, you will also have different positionings for different stakeholders, and that is essentially what you will learn, which means you will try to understand the different stakeholders, the circumstances in which a certain kind of output perhaps is what you're looking for when you interact with the stakeholders, and thereby you need certain kind of narrative positionings. That is what you will learn, which we are assuming will help you.
Okay. So like an independent director, like he basically works with the corporate boards, right? So that's my goal, right? And there, do you think like this will be more helpful in communicating the things in a
Whoever are the stakeholders, you will learn how to study stakeholders and design your communication. So what you will have to do is, for your particular personalized space, you will have to bring in those personalized studies. But the frameworks and strategies are for stakeholders.
Thank you so much.
I hope I've been able to.
Yeah, I got it. Just
Right, thank you.
Thank you, Professor. We have a question in the chat box, which is somewhat similar in nature. So how does APSSC help educators evolve from academic managers to visionary leaders who can then shape the future direction of education? Again, related to the background, I would say. So I leave it to you.
Okay, I'll answer this question after Professor Roy answers. Everybody wants to know how this will transform people from whatever they're doing into visionary leaders. So, Professor Roy, please take this forward, and then I'll have one line to add towards the end after you. Professor Roy, yeah.
See, Kubomita, I can tell you two things. One, I can tell you that yes, of course, this is exactly the missing puzzle piece that will transform you into a visionary leader. And I can also say that it's a quantum world. So I can also say that what I said for Smita, I think, is that it will depend on how you, what you glean from the course and how you try to use it. Because specifically, this is not a course about the education sector. But there are many things from the course that you now, if you really want to be a visionary leader, I honestly am not the right person to perhaps speak on this because I do not know what a visionary leader or who a visionary leader is. But whatever that definition is in your realm of thought, um, you perhaps will find some things to reach that goal, towards that goal from this program. But the others you have to perhaps get from elsewhere. Professor Love.
Thank you. Since there have been some talk from the education sector, there is another program, sorry, Mr. Darais, called EdLeap, right? So you can see there is one leadership program just from education sector. So if you're looking at something very, very local and personalized in terms of this sector itself, there are some courses like that which you can look at on the website. This program will give you ways of navigating through communication, sector agnostic, but personalized when you bring in your experience. Also, you'll have to study. So there has to be a certain study which you have to bring in. There is a study which we have done and we'll bring in, and then we will together come and collaborate and get an answer for your, futuristic dream, hopefully.
Just to perhaps, add to the explanation bit, I mean, I can have a knife in my kitchen to chop onions, and a Michelin star chef can have the same knife to chop onions in their kitchen. Uh, how we use a tool is also a lot of it is upon us. So,
I think Dr. Roy has very clearly specified something about this course. This course is tool-based. It's a craft-based program. Craft and tool. How you use it is what we'll have to learn to navigate.
Right. Any other questions, anybody, before we call it a day? I think we've almost come to the last leg of the program, unless there are no questions. You can, Shivani or somebody can summarize it, or Shreyashi, you want to close it?
Yes, so we just have 1 minute to go for the scheduled time. Just one last call for any queries that might be there on your minds. You can please come up and share them with us. Just unmute yourself or share it on the chat box. We will anyway be okay. Some Rahul is mentioning probably a walk through the modules would have been convincing. Rahul, we have the professors have actually taken the time out to share some detailed explanation about the modules that we have. However, our team is also going to reach out to you, and we can probably help you correlate the modules with your background. That would be more helpful for you on a one-on-one basis, right?
We've already done that, and we'll do that with you on a one-on-one basis. Yeah.
Can we have one example to share, crafted example to use? I'm sorry, Ramesh, could you be a bit more specific? You can please unmute yourself quickly and ask the question.
Yes, I think without context, I mean, we can't talk about, we don't understand the question.
I think I kind of got the question. Maybe Mr.
Ramesh.
Rahul, Ramit, yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I was asking to
Ramesh.
you said this is a crafted tool-based program. So if you can share one example how to use, maybe with one example that will convince everyone, yeah, this is going to be benefit everyone to use.
I will need at least 3 hours for that.
Oh.
That is out of the scope of the webinar duration, unfortunately.
Yeah. So,
I understand what he's saying. He actually wants that notch,
I think
Bhakti
so.
notch.
Yeah.
Can I like it?
So, I mean, it's a very simple, thing. But what is a toolkit or a framework? It basically tells you while communicating with somebody or in particular situation, how you read and analyze the situation and how do you architect your communication. We're talking of communication architecture, which is the thought behind the communication. That is the strategy behind the communication. And like we said, it is contextual. You just tell us, give me an example. So it, like what Professor Pragyan and Rat do, is they give you reading material. They give you material to read, come to the class, prepare. You actually discuss, and then you apply those toolkits and frameworks and see that how, in particular situations, how do you kind of use it? I mean, a very simple example. If you have to communicate with somebody who's cynical, right? And who doesn't want to listen to you, how do you convince him, right? I mean, he doesn't want to listen to you. So no matter whatever justification you're going to give to him, he's not going to be able to agree with you. So the first thing, the toolkit or the framework that says, the first thing is don't disagree with him. First, agree with him that, okay, yes, what you're saying is right. The moment you do that, his defenses come down. And when that happens, you start building your argument that comes from argumentation, which comes from legal sciences. And you build your argumentation to build on top of that. And then you convince him, and you see the difference that, yes, somebody who's cynical will start agreeing with you once you agree with him in the beginning. I don't know whether you're convinced with this, but this is just, like she said, 3 hours. But I mean, I could not do that justice in 3 minutes, but this is just an example.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. So I would like to mention to all of you that, first of all, we are going to connect with all of you on a one-on-one basis. You will be shared the recording link of today's webinar, and we will be sharing additional resources as well. Just a quick reminder that the program that we were mentioning today, APSLC Advanced Program in Strategic Leadership Communication, that is commencing in a couple of days' time by the end of the month. So the last date to apply is on the 20th of March, 2026. So since we would be reaching out to you, you can come up with your individual queries and questions with our team members. We're going to reach out to you, and we will do our level best to correlate the program to what your career trajectory has been till now and how it can help you elevate yourself to the next level. Professors, would you like to add on anything at all? I think you have been quite elucidative with your wonderful insights into the topic for today's webinar. Is there anything you would want to mention to the participants for today before we call it a day?
Okay, thank you, Shreyashi. Basically, want to really thank Mr. Darius for being the third prof. He's doing very, very well. And to reiterate the point that Dr. Roy mentioned and all of us are mentioning, good communication comes from really good studying. It's not really articulation, it's first studying. Then you know exactly what you have to do once you really study, because when you study, you're more aware. When you're more aware, you will know what you want. When you know what you want, then you will know from whom to get it. When you know from whom to get it, you will then design communication to respond to all these aspects. And any final words, Dr. Roy?
No, I think that sums it up perfectly. Only with the caveat, but even if you follow all the steps and do everything perfectly right, even then, there is scope for surprise. That's why you have to do the 3 hour grinding. The grind is important, it's all. That sounds tough. Yes, Sandeep, yes. Again, the visionary leader. I think, yes, it is tough. But
Yes, so very.
yeah, thanks, Arvind. Shreyashi, go ahead, please.
Yes, very wonderfully put together, professors, and thank you so much for taking time out of your extremely busy schedules to be with us today, this evening on a Saturday, and share your insights into the webinar topic. And I'm sure this has been an inspirational session for all of us present here today. I would just allow Shivani just a moment to say a quick hi to those whom she knows in the session before we conclude it. Over to you, Shivani, for a quick introduction.
Thank you, Shreyashi. Thank you so much, professors. It has been really an insightful session. Thank you very much for the same. And this is for the information of all the participants. We will reach out to each one of you and will definitely take up, some of the queries, and maybe we'll reach out to the professors again in case we need some insights related with the program. Thank you all so much. And just expect a call from our side with all the related details of the program. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much for participating here today. And thank you so much, professors, once again. And have a great weekend ahead, all of you. We will be in touch with you. And professors, thank you once again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.